If you're ready to experience more peace and joy in your life, if you want to feel more comfortable in your own skin, and if you're ready to discover and expand on your energetic gifts and personal power, you're in the right place. So here's your host, Kelle Sparta.
Welcome back to Spirit Guides. I'm your host, Kelle Sparta, transformational shaman, spiritual business coach. And today I am back with April Hunter. So if you listened to last week's episode, you got her reading for me. And today I'm going to do my reading for her. And we were talking before the call, and we had originally thought we were going to do a basic business spiritual energy review. And we were talking before the call, and I'm like, I got this sense, do you want to do something specific? And she's like, yes. So tell us about the business. You're thinking about starting another business in addition to your existing one. So tell us about what that's supposed to look like and tell me the questions that you have.
So I have felt for a very, very long time that I am supposed to have this retreat, for lack of a better word, space where women who have been financially abused come to basically birth their dreams so that they can survive beyond that point. And it's all about starting soul-aligned businesses for them. Basically, they come, they bring their kids for the week or however long they're there. We are basically there to take care of them so that they can basically develop this business, get it started, get it moving, and have a roadmap to move forward. And it's all about taking care of their soul, because they've basically spent their whole lives taking care of other people.
Okay. So can you define financially abused so that people know what that means?
So financially abused in that they don't have access to necessarily go outside of the home and work to create their own money. If they do go outside of the home to create their own money, it is basically put into the pot and used for whatever needs to be purchased, but they don't have control over their own money. In other words, like if they were to leave their situation, they wouldn't know how to survive.
Okay. And you're anticipating working with them before they leave or after they leave or during the time they're leaving? What's your idea?
Kind of whenever they're at the point where they can either take that week break. A lot of women can't necessarily take that break while they're still in that situation. So if it was a situation where they'd already left, then it would be, in partnership with domestic violence centers. And then it would be more of a business incubator. So it's all kind of like a crowdfunding type effort to start lifting these women up and getting them to a place of empowerment.
Okay. And so you said crowdfunded. So I asked you before we got on the call whether you were thinking, it would be a nonprofit or whether, and you said something about the idea being that what did you call it? Where it was
abundance pricing.
Abundance pricing.
So, you set your pricing up so people kind of pay what they want. So if you don't have the money to pay for it, then you basically submit for a grant or to be put in for, assistance in the pricing. But if you do have the ability to pay more and you're feeling as if God or source has been guiding you to live a very abundant life, then you pay more than the actual cost of the program and you help to fund other people to be able to complete this journey as well.
Okay. And so you said something about, the kids they bring their kids and the kids have childcare and that sort of thing. So they don't have to worry about that for being gone for a week, which is a big issue for a lot of parents. Mm-hmm. And so this is a huge undertaking because you've got to have licensed daycare professionals and all the things, right? And your question that you said was, would the people who are currently in your existing system, the Profit First stuff, excuse me, would they transfer over to this new program?
Kind of in the business energy sense of, is the business that I'm running with the Profit First alignment and all of that, is that the same business or is it a new and different business that's supposed to start up under a different entity? In other words,
Gotcha.
Is this business pivoting or am I starting a new business?
Okay. So let me take a look at the energies of both of the businesses And then I will talk to them and see what they have to say and how the energies look and in relation. Let me just tap in and do that before I put my head into the mix. So, because this is going to be a combination of reading and, business consulting is basically what this is going to be. So I love that this is something different. So, okay. So I have permission to enter your energy field for the purposes of the reading? Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so the moment I tapped into your energy field, it went kaboom, and it opened up to earth and sky, right? So it was like this pillar of energy that when I tapped into you. And then I see these two businesses swirling around you, and they circle you for a time, and then they swirl together. So what it looks like is that they start off separate and then they evolve to come together. So, and it literally creates sort of like this candy cane effect. It's not that color, but you get the idea, right? The stripiness. And so it doesn't look like they mix because they're still separate colors, right? They're still different energies, but they are entwined in a way. So I'm not sure what that means. That's very interesting. Okay, let me see if I can get more information. Hold on. So what I'm getting is this sort of hand in glove sort of thing. They're connected and they're interconnected, but they are not the same business. Mm-hmm. So my sense is that you may be able to get people from the Profit First business to come over into the other business and fund those people as well. Although I'm not seeing crossover. It may just be that the people in your Profit First business end up being donors for the other business. I'm not seeing crossover in the people, right? Mm-hmm. And that makes sense thinking about your business, because your business is already up and you're working with people who are already established and they're not really going to need the same thing as the other people. Right. But they definitely have that sort of pay it forward sort of energy to them. Mm-hmm. And so that feels like it may become a donor base for your other work, mm-hmm. that you put it that way. And so, all right, let me just feel into this because my head says, let's look at the financials of this, because anytime you're marketing to a market that has no money, you have to figure out the revenue for the finances to come through, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I see this a lot with spiritual practitioners. They're like, oh, but I have to take care of people. And then they try and market into a market that has no money, and then they wonder why they're broke. And I know that you don't do that because you've got your other business up and running and you're good. But I'm saying it out loud for those who are listening to keep in mind that if you're going to set up a business, you need to market to people who have money, or else you will be as broke as your clients, right? So that's why I asked if it was a nonprofit, you were going to write grants and things.
No. So while it's not necessarily a nonprofit, I think that there might be a nonprofit arm or leg of it eventually. And then almost like a mentorship type thing where you can graduate, like after your business is up running and successful, then you come back and kind of mentor to people who are coming into the program.
Yeah, I can see government grants being an option for this. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be a nonprofit for that. And being a woman-owned business, you would definitely have priority within the government grants organization's structure.
And non-binary.
Okay, so then that adds to it too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So although I don't know if there are qualifications for that, I think it's just women-owned and minority-owned and veteran-owned. Those are the things that get you priorities, unless things have changed, which is possible. I haven't researched the grants world in probably 10 years. So it's a lot possible. Of research. Yeah. Yeah, there may be grants specific to that, but I don't know. So, okay. So
retreat is also location, like physical location. It's a farm type location with an apothecary garden and like a working farm.
Okay. Why?
Because animal energies are amazing and people love herbs, and you need the apothecary factor of it
Okay.
because of
Okay.
all of those energies of the plants. That's a very
Oh,
healing aspect of it all.
okay. So to be clear, and I know this about you, but I'm going to clarify for the listeners, we are not talking psychedelics. So
Not yet, but that is something that Massachusetts had on the ballot this year of like, can you offer psychedelics?
interesting. Okay.
It was an
But you
awesome
will
thing.
not get government grants if you're offering psychedelics.
No,
So
you cannot get, no.
yeah. So just food for thought on that. But you had mentioned doing it in Michigan or in Chattanooga.
Mhm.
I will say that there's not a reason not to do it in Massachusetts because that's where you live, right?
No. So there's actually about 4 different locations that I would love for this business. I would love to have the Michigan, Chattanooga, Massachusetts, and Bozeman, Montana.
Oh, okay.
And then do it once a year down in Arizona as well.
Yeah. So when you are looking at something like that, you're also adding in travel costs for parents and children, which
Which is
gets
why
quite
the
pricey.
locations. Yeah, but it also helps to have those regional locations because then
Yeah.
they're not traveling as far.
I would assume that the vast majority of people are going to be where the vast majority of people live, which is on the coasts.
Mhm.
So, and the further you get inland, the further you get away, like Bozeman, like that's really far from a population center. So that's going to be more expensive to
Mhm.
get people there. And so these are things to consider as you're
Yeah.
going through, right?
Michigan and Bozeman may not be the business incubator type client retreat. That one might be the upper echelon type retreats.
So for people who are already making money.
Owners making money.
Okay. All right. That makes more sense.
Mhm.
So, okay.
Yep, there's different energies, and I've
mhm.
had some astrocartography readings done on all 4 of those places.
Okay.
My Pluto line is in Massachusetts, and I'm comfy with Pluto. Pluto is a homie for me. Not a lot of people, but I groove in Pluto line, and it's going to be here for another 4 or 5 years. So,
Okay. All right. So the first thing I say, so I've run retreats for like 25 years, right? So
mhm.
the first thing I say is the closer to home your retreat is, the less sanity you lose, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Especially if you're just starting retreats. The closer to home you are, one, people know you, that you've got a base of operations where people who already know, like, and trust you are likely going to be like, oh yeah, I want to come to that. And 2, you know all of the venues, you know all of the people, you have an ability to develop a relationship with those things and those people, and it's easier. And then the pile of supplies that is never ending and always growing, it will fit better in your car, then you don't have to ship them, right? And worry about them getting lost in transit and whatever. So all of these things are a reason to do your first retreats close to home. So
Yeah.
I would highly recommend that.
Unlike my destination wedding.
Yeah. Yeah. So you understand. Yes.
Yeah, understand that.
Yeah. So the and the Boston area has the benefit of being massive amounts of people between Boston and New York and Connecticut. You've got all of those in Rhode Island, all those people can commute in. And so you've got a large population center to draw from, which makes it much easier to get people to come. Like, I'm running a retreat in Panama right now. Everybody had to fly to Panama, right? So the people who signed up for my retreat were my already existing students, right? So, this is another piece that you have to pay attention to, right? Okay. So let me tap in here. Let me look at the new business idea. Retreats. Yeah. So what I'm seeing is a partnering with organizations. That's going to be the way that you get people in the door. I know you're thinking domestic violence centers, but I'm also seeing prison outreach. I'm seeing there are organizations that work with women in prisons, and that this is a way for them to get back on their feet as well. Right. especially ones who are in on drug charges, because many of them are in there because their boyfriends were dealing out of their house and they left their home, the stash in the house. And because it was their house, they got nicked for it. Right. And so
this sounds a lot like that Chase Bank glitch.
the what?
The Chase Bank glitch that happened over the summer where boyfriends went and wrote a check on their own Chase Bank account and they didn't have the money. And a lot of these guys have ended up in prison, and all of their partners / kids lost all of their government aid because they pulled this glitch.
Wow. Okay. I don't know about that, but okay. But yes, so that would be potentially an issue, right? So let me check. Because my head says you could also work with the welfare office, but nope, you can't work with the welfare office. There's no energy there. Okay. So job centers? No, not job centers. Women in enterprise. Not really. They're not gonna be a good partner. How about, who's a good sponsor? Let's look for sponsors, because that would be another way to fund this, is to get corporate sponsors, right? So let's take a look for corporate sponsors. Let's see who shows up. Oddly, I see yogi teas, which is interesting. Their market is primarily women, so that makes sense that they would want some positive PR, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Apple will promise but not deliver, so don't bother. I'm asking them to give me rando companies, and that's not working so well. I think the better answer is, when you come up with some ideas for corporate sponsors, run them by me, because that's the only one that they handed me. So, but corporate sponsorship is a great way to develop good PR for the corporation and, income for the company, right? So,
what about private family foundations?
I'm getting, if you know them personally, you would maybe get some traction, but otherwise it's going to be a rough haul. So if you want to tap that market, you may want to partner with someone who is a fundraiser for another charity and see if they might get you introductions.
Mm-hmm.
But that's...
Yeah. Just from working with those families, I know exactly how you have to have the in to get in with them.
Yeah. So if you've already got the connections, there's potential, but if not, it's tough.
Yeah.
So as a cold,
it's also, I think, it's tough to explain that to them, because a lot of those women have never been in a financially abusive type situation. So they're like, what the heck are you talking about? Women are abused.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've got to have the perspective, and I'm not sure they do. With the corporations, they have a financial benefit to them for doing it, which is the positive PR, right? Mm-hmm. So I would approach your corporations initially during like Women's Domestic Violence Week or something, talk to them a few months in advance of that, so that they can have that donation in place and, talk about all the good things they're doing, right? Mm-hmm. That's going to be your place to get the most of your market donations for that. And watch the news. If anything comes out around some domestic violence of some sort, like the Ghislaine, no, that's not the right one. The lady who is in France who just came back to the US, who's having her, the whole
her last
essay.
Name.
I can't remember.
Her last name starts with a P. I think it's Giselle, maybe?
Giselle. That's the word I was looking for. Yes.
No, it's not Giselle.
No.
It definitely starts with a G, and her last name starts with a P.
Yeah. So, yeah. Something like that would be another reason to reach out and say, hey, this stuff is happening. It's high profile. Don't you want to be involved, and don't you want to look like a good guy, right?
Or just be a good guy.
Oddly, not always the primary.
I know.
Corporations are designed to make money. So you just have to understand their motivation. Can't go in judgment. You have to go in acceptance.
Yeah.
You cannot go in judgment. If you go in judgment, you will not get your donation. You have to go in acceptance and say, look, these are your motivations. I want to help you get what you want while I help me get what I want. And, you're going to look good and I'm going to do good, right? Mm-hmm. Together, we will be the purveyors of good, right? Mm-hmm. That's how you'll have to look at it.
Yeah.
So when we go in judgment, we never make the sale. Okay. So, okay, let's see what else here. So you've got a lot of moving parts in this business. There's a lot of people that you need involved in this. The startup costs are going to be significant. Mm-hmm. Just the caretakers for the kids alone and the cost of the retreat center is a lot. Mm-hmm. So, and that doesn't even count the content, right? Or anything else that you're doing. Which, since you're delivering it, is not that big of a deal because you're providing the services. So that's not money out of pocket initially. That's, you pay yourself out of the proceeds, right? So you're going to need to schedule these a long time in advance in order to be able to gather the resources to be able to pay the people and the venue. Depends on the venue. I'm lucky down here in Panama. I can reserve an entire hotel and I don't have to release the rooms that I'm not using until 8 days in advance, right? So I can hold those, I can market that and do that until whatever. But most venues are going to require a 50% payment 60 days in advance and full payment 30 days in advance. And so that means you need to be marketing it so that you can pay it by that 60 days in advance, because those last 30 days, you're not going to get a ton of registrations, right? So you need to be able to do that. So how are you thinking about structuring your retreat? Are you doing it as a transformational experience, as a workshop? What are you doing with it?
It's more of a transformational experience because a lot of the foundation that they're going to gain within that week, while there are workshop elements to it, it's all about finding that unique piece of your soul that is going to be the motivation to move forward endlessly.
Okay. So what are the practical application pieces that they're getting?
So the practical applications that they're getting is they're going to be getting a story lab type writing aspect where they're going to take everything that they've had in their past and turn it into their future and change their stories of their past into their future. They're going to be kind of deciding what their business is going to be, what they're going to be good at, and daydreaming a bunch of different types of businesses that they're going to be good at, kind of pinning it down on one business. And then we're going to start the roadmap of like the practical aspects of what you're going to do. Like, how are you going to register this business? All of the EIN numbers, the financial structures, try to get as much of that set up as possible. Obviously, some things don't work in flow that way because, that's just how spirit works. But as much as they're able to kind of concretely put down, we assist them with.
Okay. So are they going to need computers?
Not to a huge extent, because we'll have VAs and stuff that we can outsource that to.
So you're going to be paying for VAs for them?
Yeah, but how long does it take to file an EIN number?
So energetically, as I'm looking at this, so financial abuse is trauma, and usually not the only kind of trauma that they're coming in with, right? So one of the things that happens with people in trauma is that they lose their ability to dream, especially if it's long-term trauma, right? They just go with what is, right? they go into damsel in distress mode, right? I'm just going to do what you tell me to do, and I'm going to hope that's okay, right? And so there's what I'm hearing is there's a lot of soft skills, but not a lot of hard skills and a lot of action taking. And the action taking energetically feels like it needs to be more solid, because the belief in themselves, if something is done for them instead of them doing it themselves, they don't build the belief in their own ability to do things. And that's part of the journey that they need to take energetically.
Okay.
And so they need to be doing as much of it themselves as possible, which means you could work a partnership with, say, Microsoft or Dell or Chromebook, get Chromebook access. That's all they need is Chromebook, right? They don't really need a computer.
Right.
So, but they'd be enough for them to work with at their event, right? I mean, you don't need one for everybody to take home, but you can do one for the event itself, right? And Chromebooks are cheap. If you have to buy them, they're not that bad, right? So, which means you need good Wi-Fi wherever you're going to be. So that's another aspect to add to your list. But the motivation factor is going to be a big issue, and the victim mindset is going to be a big issue, because when they've hit the damsel in distress, they've given up hope. So you need to recultivate hope, right? So and you have to recultivate problem solving and doing it yourself and all of that, right? So now some of them will already be in the knight in shining armor mode, which is the next step up from damsel in distress. In which
case,
that
doesn't mean they're healed. And
no, not even remotely. But at least it's a doable stage, right? It's a doable stage. So what you may want to do is assess them at the beginning and partner the damsels with the knights. But make sure that the knights are told that the damsels have to do the work themselves. They cannot have the knights do it for them. Right?
So one of the things that I do now is the quantum alignment system story lab. But it's a full day of going through that victim mentality and changing your story to be that hero. So that's a full day of it. And then kind of giving them a day off to kind of like let that kind of anchor itself and do some EFT tapping that day, take yourself out in nature, and then do like some fun aspects. So, like go on a floating trip or some kind of like team building type adventure-y thing, so that they really feel like they are powerful. They can do things that they wouldn't necessarily normally do. And then on the tail end, like the last kind of 2 days is like, let's really nail down the structure of all of this. Here's your action steps that you need to get done. Here's the resources if you want to do it now, if you want to take some time, because of the different types that we're working with. Like an emotionally defined person is not going to be ready to take action that day, whereas a manifesting generator, if they're not emotionally defined, projectors and generators will be like, yes, I want to get my stuff started today. And then those people will be where the emotionally are going to be like, I really think I need to just go sleep on this for a little bit and let those messages that have been spoken to me really anchor themselves in my soul. So the whole purpose of the retreat is really to anchor people's dreams into reality. It's an anchor point for them.
Yeah. So without hard skills as an outcome, you're going to have a hard time with the government financing, just for the record, because they want to see hard skill outcome, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So
that tends to go more towards the business incubator aspect of it, which is a second phase of it.
Okay. So here's the piece, right? And the big business incubator aspect is going to be an ongoing thing, right? Okay. Virtual?
Mostly virtual. I'm going to have 8 cabins of women who are in flux, but offering those services as a domestic violence center.
Okay. So this is something that you could take graduates and put them into domestic violence houses and have them do and things like that. Okay. But initially it's going to be virtual and these 8 cabin things. Okay. So what you do is you don't package them separately, you package them together. Because the government funding, you call the first week mindset and reorientation, right? To an entrepreneurial mindset and to non-victim mindset, right? You get them into the right mindset for success, right? And then the next stage is the hard skill stuff. You do it all together. It's one program, one thing, and then you can bring the government financing back in. Okay. Yeah. So it's a complete year-long process, right? And the outcome is that they will have a functioning business by the end of it.
There is one location here that is setting up housing for these women specifically, and will have some of this, it's a good partner business for me because they will have not the business like incubator specific place, but they will have like the housing option as well. So
okay. So what you need is a proof of concept. And so that would be a good partner to do a proof of concept with. So the proof of concept is, for those listening, if you don't know what that means, is that you do a small project for the entire program, and then you prove that the model works. And then you have that proof to be able to sell it to other people to fund, sponsor, grant, whatever monies, right? So, a small group, but not too small. You want maybe 10 to 25 people, right? Yeah. Because you want to have enough room for there to be fallout, because there will be fallout. And then you need to, because you can't teach people to believe in themselves who refuse to believe in themselves. And that's why. So, but then you need to have enough to have success stories to show. Right. And what I would do with this first group is I would also tell them that they are the test group and that their success or failure determines whether or not other women get this opportunity. Yep. Because they will do it more for other people than they will do it for themselves.
Of course we will.
So, yeah. Okay. So let me check in again here. See. I'm getting a bigger picture now of what your plan is. So let me build that all into the mix. Let me look at the test group that you're thinking about. It feels small. Is it a small center? Do you know how many people it's going to have?
I think their test group is only about 15 people.
Yeah, that feels small.
Because they're providing housing for all of these people.
Right.
For 18 months.
So my sense is that especially for the test group, but I think in general, I think you need to have an intake program where they have to qualify. Okay. Because, there's no point in putting somebody through a system if they're not going to do it, if they don't want to do it. Right. So it can't be a mandatory, you're doing this because you're in the group. Right. Because not everybody is cut out to be an entrepreneur.
No.
So you got to have high risk tolerance. You got to have a independent mindset and a level of stubbornness that rivals the world, and never quit attitude and, all the things, right? And, come hell or high water attitude, right? And a lot of people are not meant for that, right?
Right.
So
especially if they're already in burnout at the very, very end of their energetic rope.
Yeah.
Like there's only a certain number of those people who would be like, I'm fine with a 9 to 5. Just tell me which one I need to pick.
Exactly. Because they're in surrender. They're in, they've given up. Right. So I strongly feel like you need an entry exam of some kind, an interview or something that you can sit with them and talk to them and ask them questions. And you may want to develop a questionnaire that you have them do initially, because, you can say, how are you and what's your energy level, and, how much emotional bandwidth do you have, and, all the things, right? And then I would also rely on the recommendations of the people who are, looking at the housing, who are managing the housing, because if they're a troublemaker, then you don't want that. Right. Because that's going to create hate and discontent in the masses of the program, right? You don't want to have that. No. And you need to have a contract with them that says that, you can stay so long as you are not abusing others. You are not, you're not trying to coach somebody else, right? It's, I have a policy in my programs, my beginner programs. I'm like, nobody coaches but the coach, because the coaching that people give who are not through the program is often not good coaching, right? And it makes people feel unsafe, and it keeps them focused on themselves. So if they're not able to coach somebody else, they can only focus on themselves. And then everybody feels safe because only the coach coaches, right? So
you have to heal yourself before you can heal the world.
Yes. And so, you need a contract that has a behavior rules part of it, right? It's like, you agree to this, and you're only going to be able to do this so long as this is the case. And there will be warnings. There will be one warning for these 4 things, and there will be no warnings for this. If you are abusive to others, you will be out. There are no warnings, right? All of this needs to be part of the social contract of the group, so that people know what the parameters and the boundaries are.
Yep.
This also serves to teach them that good boundaries make safe spaces, right? Because many of them have never been in a home with any boundaries whatsoever. Yes. So, yeah. So, all right. So, yeah, you're going to need some significant liability insurance around the childcare stuff. So that's going to be something you definitely want to look into. Okay. Yeah, I think you're going to have to partner with multiple organizations to get the number of people you need. And so I would highly recommend doing your test case in your local area, and, partner with a bunch of different groups. And yeah. Let me tap into the energy. What I'm feeling is that there needs to be a significant energetic shift, and that there needs to be, a connection to love and feeling loved and supported, right? So let me tap into your first day and see if that provides everything you need. Hold on. Oh, look at that. That's pretty awesome. That does provide everything they need. That's impressive, because that's a lot in one day. So yeah. Yeah, so that looks good. Okay. Let me see what else. Funding. Let me look for funding here. Okay. So I'm seeing that the facilities either have or have connection to money, governmental money, that's meant to support the creation of a situation where they can make their own money, right? And so you may get a small piece of that money. And by small, I mean like 10, 15%. And let's see what else. Government funds will not come until proof of concept is done, and probably not for a couple of years after.
Yeah.
So private money. Jewel has a foundation, the singer.
Oh, I haven't heard of Jewel for so many years.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure she had a foundation.
She and her mother lived in their car for many years, and she has created a foundation. And I heard about it years ago, but she has a foundation, or had at the time. I don't know if it's still there, but I can't imagine it wouldn't be. And that is serving to help the homeless, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of your people would apply for that, would qualify. So you might want to reach out to that organization. And then so weird. Feeling like Mark Cuban might be another good person to reach out to. You know who that is?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Last time I saw him, he had a cake on his head.
Yeah. Well, he's an interesting guy.
Not
So-
like an edible cake.
Yeah.
Like the bra ones.
Bra cake. Never heard of such a thing, but okay. So I'm clearly out of the cultural zeitgeist. Anyway. But yeah, he's been taking more interest in creating sanity for the masses sort of thing, right? Doing his drugs company. So what else? I feel like I feel like if you went off season, I feel like the one of the local retreat centers would work with you and donate everything except for hard expenses.
Mm.
So, like food and
Hmm.
staff and whatnot. But it would have to be off season for them. So fill in an empty month, right?
Yeah, there's definitely some logistics with that. But if it was a shorter type retreat that maybe didn't involve the childcare that first kind of go round.
Yeah.
Because kids were in school and it's local. And then it
Yeah.
would be not an overnight camp either. It would just be more of like a day camp retreat.
That could be done. Yeah. That could be done. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
A workcation.
A workation. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that is a less stringent requirement sort of thing, right? You can do something a little easier, right?
Yeah, it definitely does not seem like it's going to be the Goliath of a business that it's going to be right off the bat.
Right.
It's going to have to definitely be build my Lego blocks up.
Yes. Yeah, you can't start at the top. You have to build this slowly.
Mm-mm.
And you have to show proof of concept, and you have to, it's going to be iterative,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think I think the iterations are actually going to inform the final business. I don't think it's going to necessarily end up being exactly the way you envision it. I think you're going to find as you do your iterations that some things work better than others, and that, the final vision needs to be adjusted for that.
Mm-hmm.
So
if you think about that 3-5 profile line that your business has, I have that same profile line. So for me, endless exploration is what I do, and all of the lessons that I am here to kind of transfer to other people, I find in those, like, let's go explore this avenue. So that iteration part really kind of speaks to it. Like, yep, I'm not going out there to find what I need to find, but somebody who needs that will have that need met for them.
Yeah. I feel like there is another woman who is going to come into the picture for you and partner with you on this. I don't see it as a business partner, but maybe a mentor who is, they're tangentially related to what it is that you're doing.
Like a collaboration.
Yeah, that's really more. Yeah, that's really more what I'm getting. But she has mass resources, like so many connections, and not much on the funding side, a little bit, but more the connections and the avenues. So I feel like, do you do networking events in your area?
There's a couple that I've really started to get into, but
Feel like, is it a networking event? No. I feel like you attend a workshop for something and you meet her there. Right. So, but it's a, I don't know if it's like a nonprofit or a HR or women. No, not a women in business.
Women in enterprise?
No, I really don't get a lot of energy out of the women in enterprise for you.
Because there's a business that does a whole bunch of networking opportunities that's literally called Center for Women in Enterprise.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that organization because I used to live in the Boston area, but it doesn't feel like it's that, although it might be the Boston Business Women's Association. The lady who runs that is a lovely human, and she gets a lot of great people in there. Yeah, but I'm not getting a lot of energy out of the Center for Women in Enterprise. Could be through the Cambridge Innovation Center too. Could be through that. But not sort of the general low-end networking stuff. That's not what you want to be in. If it doesn't cost you money to get in the door, you don't want to be there. Okay. But yeah, those two sound, and there's different conferences that come through as well. So, what I would say is do some either pendulum work or kinesiology to see which events you should attend. Look for the bright and shiny, right? I am the queen of going into a room of 500 people and picking out the bright and shiny person in the room, the person who I'm meant to talk to, right? So, don't try to talk to everybody, just see who you feel attracted to, right? And so I feel like that's where you find her.
Okay.
And I'm getting that she's blonde. So that'll help too.
Okay.
So
do we even know if blonde is like a blonde thing or if it's like a dyed blonde?
Does it matter? She's currently blonde. So
her energy says blonde.
And she's in her 40s. She's well put together in her 40s, on the slimmer side. Yeah, she's done up, head to toe. She's got her nails done. She's got everything, she's put together, right? But she's going to have a lot of resources for you. And let's see. Anything else? Okay, let me look at this in relation to your other business. Yeah, before you start this, you need to get the other business on autopilot. Because this is going to take a massive amount of energy from you. So the other business needs to be up and running to the point where, you've got your subcontractors in place, you've got all your systems written, you've got a backup plan for your backup plan so that you can then focus over here, right? All your marketing is automated, the whole 9 yards, right? Everything from soup to nuts. Because once you do this, it's going to pull all your focus and it's not going to make enough money to pay you for like 3 to 5 years. Because you're going to keep reinvesting. Okay. So you need to have the income coming in over here to make this doable. So you'll be able to pay for the business, but I'm not seeing you going into debt, but I am seeing you not taking a salary for a while. I know. Not exactly what you wanted to hear, but
no, just personal energy level wise. It's a recurring theme.
Yeah. So I am the queen of, run, fall down, get up, run, fall down, get up, right? It's sort of my default mode. I'm trying to change that, but I tend to get, I hyper focus and I get excited and then I get too far into it and then I fall down. So I am literally just getting up from having done the production of Mamma Mia. So, I'm finally today feeling human and having energy for something. And of course I'm thinking, oh, I could do this really cool thing that's new and I'm like, okay, maybe you ought to think about that. But this is what I'm saying is that there is this tendency to work too hard and then feel like you don't have enough energy because you burn out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that is going to be the skill that this business teaches you, is how not to do that, because you will not have the ability to fall down and keep things going.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have to learn to tap in and reserve your energy for the things that you need it for, right? So like when I was sick and doing Mamma Mia, we did nothing but Mamma Mia. I laid down, I did nothing. In 3 hours, I would go do my performance, and then I would come home and do nothing, right? That sort of thing, right? So that's going to be a factor that you learn. I'm going to come into your energy field and take a look and see if there's anything inside your field that needs to be looked at. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Okay. So the first thing I'm getting as I come into your energy field is this sense of controlled chaos. Lots of plates spinning, lots of things flying around, this constant, I got to spin this one over here and I spin that one over there. Da, 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 da. You ever see the guy with plate spinners that you got to like constantly be but see the plate spinner guy and then see a bunch of balls swirling around outside of everything as well that you periodically have to like give a swack to and keep them spinning, right? So it's kind of like a tether ball, but without it, it doesn't spin in, it just spins around, right? And it's flying over the top of the plates. So at any moment, if they're not going fast enough, it can hit the plates coming down. It's just like this, that's the energy. It's like stressed, controlled chaos, right? And so, that is the current state of affairs. That's before you add this business in, which is going to be that on steroids. Okay, so you need to get what you currently have down to the point of not being a problem. And
I know exactly the step has to happen to do that.
Okay. All right. My sense is that you may need to bring someone else in who is a organizer and structurer, that there may be your inherent beingness is you're capable of structuring, but it takes a lot of energy. It takes
because I'm not a projector.
Right. It takes a lot of energy.
The steps I need to do.
Say again?
You just tell me the systems I need to do, and I am happy to work within those systems.
Right. So you need a structurer, right? So my strong suggestion would be for you to find a virtual assistant who is a structurer and have them come in and put the systems in place for you. Okay. Because the amount of energy it's going to take you to do that is more than you need to expend. It's more than you have to expend right now. Right. And you have to also empower your assistant to say no to you. Because the moment your energy isn't taken up with all this other stuff, you're going to be like, ooh, bright and shiny. Ooh, bright and shiny. Ooh, I could do this and I could do that. No, you need to lay out rules for yourself and your assistant that says, this is what we're doing this year. We're doing nothing else. And when you come with the bright and shiny, your assistant needs to look at you and say, no. And you go, and you got to make your case, and they've got to be willing to say no, because 90% of what you bring them is going to be a no, right? Only 10% is actually going to work with the things that you've agreed to do, right? So this is why I'm saying, you need to be able to learn how to rein in that ultimate creative energy, because if you don't, you're going to pull focus from your business. And your business is going to lose coherency and therefore lose marketability, right? Because you've got to have a singular focus for your business and a singular, a signature offer and all of that, right? And when you're freed up from all of the stuff that is the chaos factory, then you will be like, what could I do now? Right. And I know because I'm that person and my assistant has full authority to be able to say no to me. And she does often. And so, I highly recommend this path. And so the piece that you need to do instead is learn how to be balanced. Learn how not to work so hard. Learn how to be more abundant in your free time, right? And give yourself the bandwidth to unburn, right? To uncrispy critter, right? So that you can learn how to be balanced. And then once you've learned balance, then you're going to recognize when it's too much, right? So, I know I am burning out when I watch too much TV. So I am coming out. Yeah. I'm coming out of burnout right now. And I just asked my husband to cancel 2 of our TV subscriptions so that we can watch less TV. Right. And I spend too much time on my phone playing games. I'm deleting all the games off my phone. Right. And so all of that is how you come out of it and you start to give yourself things that are a life and not just an existence. Right. Because we have a tendency to make our business our lives. Right. And that's not a life.
Yeah.
It's just not. And it can be exciting and it can be fun, but it's not a life. So let me see if there's anything else in here that they want me to talk to you about. Identity. Okay. Yeah. So there's an identity piece in here that's going to be relevant for you. Let me take a look here. Yeah, there's a mask that you're wearing, a glamour, right? An energetic glamour. It basically is a look at me, I know how to do this. Look at me, look at me. There's a lot of look at me, look at me, look at me in the energy of it. And when you're promoting yourself, that's kind of important, right? However, in the rooms that you're going to be in doing the grant work with the government, in doing the talking to the foundations and stuff like that, that energy will not serve you. You need to be more in a quiet, expert space. And it's not quiet as in not self-promoting, although it kind of is. It's quiet as in this is what needs to be done and I'm the person to do it. It's that energy, right? Not look at me, look at the good things I'm doing, look at how amazing this is, look at this organization, blah, blah, blah. It needs to be about you and your ability to deliver on your promise, not about the organization, not about the people, not about anything. It's about you and your ability to deliver on your promise. That's the energy you need to come at those events with. So they're buying into you, not into your program. You need to give them the details of how the program is going to work so that they see that you've laid it out in a logical fashion and that you know what you're doing enough to create a business plan for it and whatever else, right? You've got to have a presentation, right? But they're not buying the thing, they're buying you. Okay, because the thing can be amazing. And if you suck as a person to deliver it, then it's never going to happen. And these people know that. Right?
Yep.
So your energy needs to reflect, I am an expert and I am a doer and I am a come hell or high water person. I will get this done. I don't care what obstacles I run up against. I don't care what shows up. I will find a way through them. And here's reasons why. Here's things I've done in the past to prove that. Right. That sort of thing. Okay. All right. Especially if you're talking to Cuban. You need to have that clear with him because he's all about that. But what else? Yeah, you're going to have some imposter syndrome showing up, but that's true for anything new that you do. You you have the same thing I have, which is the ability to be confident in things that you don't know how to do. You know, you've got that ability to just sort of step into it and be like, I'll figure it out. It'll be fine. Right. And that will serve you in this environment, that's standing in that confidence despite the imposter syndrome inside. Right. The imposter syndrome inside is like, do I know how to do this? I don't know if I can know how to do this. And the bravado on the outside is like, it's fine. I'll make it work. Right. That bravado comes from a place of knowing that you are eminently adaptable and trusting the universe. Those two things together create confidence. And that's the piece that when you're feeling the imposter syndrome, that's the piece you need to lean into, is the universe has always got my back, and I am eminently adaptable, and I am smart, and I figured stuff out, right? That's where you want to come at it from. Okay. Any questions? Any other questions?
No, I don't think so. I love the candy cane.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I really feel like that's going to be, let me just check. Let me check on the existing business. I'm seeing 1 to 2 years for that to get up and running and the way it needs to. Okay. So, and that means, getting all the systems in place and finding the right people to work and all of that. Right. So I know that's slower than you'd like it to be, but that's what it is.
Well, it's hard to move forward in a blender.
Say again?
It's hard to move forward in a blender. It's not exactly a fast moving mobile.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So,
and sometimes I
go ahead.
I use that blender analogy all the time. It's almost like a hurricane or a blender, and it's like it's just slowly chugging forward and disrupting everything in its path, good and bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know an entrepreneur who doesn't have a lot of plates spinning, just because that's sort of the nature of entrepreneurship. But my mantra for this year is simplification. And I'm just like, one thing, right? And so that's where that's coming from. But if you get that person in who's the systems person to write the stuff up for you, they will excel. They will be the difference between the 2 years and the 1 year. Okay. If you have to do it yourself, it's going to take 2. If you hire somebody in, they'll bring it down to 1. And their systems will be better. And the difference in income, you'll make 20% more if you hire them in than you would if you do it yourself, because their systems will be more efficient and therefore save you costs on the back end. Yeah. So, systems.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Do I have anything else? Let me check with them. Okay. So the word bankroll keeps coming up over and over again. And they're saying, don't be afraid to go into debt. Spending money on credit that makes you more money than you spent makes sense. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
that's one of the things that we work with a lot in Profit First, which is not necessarily traditional, because a lot of people want to go that Dave Ramsey mode of like, no debt, no debt, no debt. But when you're thinking about a business, it's completely the opposite of, you have to leverage it. You just have to be smart about how you're leveraging it. Like, you don't put things on credit or on debt that is not going to be an asset to your business. Like, no expenses, just assets.
Right. Yeah. So, okay. Anything else, guys? Ladies? Non-binaries? Want to get all the advice? No. They are, however, clapping. They love this new business idea. They just say you're going to have to be patient because it's going to take some time to bring into form on the physical reality the way that you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you'll be busy enough that it won't matter. So, yeah. Yeah, they say start small and do not expect to build fast. They're like incremental building, because if you try to build too fast, it falls over.
Mm-hmm.
So one step at a time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like one event a year sort of thing until you can get up and running and you have enough people and whatever. Right. Yeah. And not until you get your stuff in order.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No manifesting, generating this.
No.
Have to generate it.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's what I have for you. Any feedback on what you got? Any thoughts for how you're going to take it forward?
I really appreciate the concrete details. As that person who's constantly trying to figure out like what the heck is the next little piece, place, whatever. In many ways, I feel like I'm out here gallivanting the world, gathering up all of my instruction manual that just kind of blew away. So it's like, what locations is this going to be? What pages is this going to be? What order is this going to be? And that's kind of my mission right now, is figuring out like, what are all my resources, now the order of them, kind of a thing, which is the systems person. So they can figure out the order. I have gathered the pieces, which is awesome. It's also, the candy cane was fantastic, because that really is a great visual analogy of, like, is this two separate businesses? Yes. But is it got that same combined, aligned mission?
Yeah. Yeah. What I see is that your newsletter to your existing group includes updates on the other one and a spot for people to donate. That's what I'm seeing. That's how the correlation happens, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else you want to share, or are you feeling complete?
I'm feeling complete. I'm feeling happy.
Awesome. All right. And so that's all we have for this time, folks. If you want to find out more about April, there's links in the show notes. And and please like, subscribe, share this episode with someone if you feel like they are a business owner who might need some advice and looking for some insights beyond just the physical, although would like the physical ones too. This would be a great episode to share with them. And thanks so much for listening. We really appreciate you. And don't forget that what you focus on expands. What you intend is what you create. So choose wisely.
So that's it for today's episode of Spirit Guides Podcast. Head on over to iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen and subscribe to the show. Every week, one lucky listener who subscribes and posts a review on iTunes will be entered into a drawing for a $10,000 value grand prize and a private reading with Kelle Sparta herself. Be sure to head on over to spiritguidespodcast.com and pick up a free copy of Kelle's gift and join us on the next episode.